Welcome to this episode of Your Property Business, the video podcasts that help you get the most out of your own property business.
Because that's another sort of stumbling block I think people have, either mentally or actually in reality. How do you get your first one? So yours is a combination of working hard, saving hard, entrepreneurial cash flow, and a loan.
And a loan, and I might use my credit card.
Yeah, okay. So hook or by crook, you got this thing.
So what I did was I said I have to be in this game,
right?
And then I worked out how to be in the game.
That's interesting. That's interesting. You made the decision to make it happen, and
I made a decision to make it happen. I bought the property. I had to rewire it. Fortunately, my uncle was an electrician. He's the guy that owned the house that we built, so he taught me how to rewire already. So I rewired the house, replastered it, and redecorated it, and then let it.
Okay. Did you live in it at that point, or was that totally?
I lived in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Primary residence, no capital gains. Yeah. So even at the age of 19, 20, I knew I had to live in it because I'm not paying 40% tax on the profit.
Yeah.
So I did that. I finished university, let that out, and as I said, we didn't want the boring jobs that we thought we did when we went to university. So we moved to London, and London's a different market to Nottingham. So you're not buying a 3-bedroom house in London at the age of 23, 24. So I looked around and I said, okay, I still want to be in this game, but I don't have a deposit. So what am I going to do? So I looked around. I had, I was working. I had some income, and so I bought what I could afford to buy. And I think that's something that a lot of people at the beginning of their property journey forget, is that you don't have to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So I bought a parking space under a block of flats.
Okay.
And I let it out. So I rented it out.
The principles are the same, right?
It's exactly the same. So I bought a parking space. I paid £7,000 for it. I rented it out. I got £100 a month for 2.5 years. I put all of the money in an account. I didn't spend it, which is another really important part of being an investor, is not spending it. And I put all of that money in an account for 2.5 years, and then I sold the parking space for £15,000. So I had 2.5 years of rent plus capital gains. Capital gains on a parking space, is it your primary residence? I was renting at the time, so I claimed it was. So I didn't pay capital gains on it.
Yeah.
And that gave me my deposit for the first property in London.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's an unusual way of getting the money to get started. And I think for a lot of people starting out in property, they think, I don't have £250,000 for a deposit for £1 million house. How am I going to start? It's a bit like, well, start what you can. Do what you can, make the money, and then invest it, and then invest that, and then invest that, and so on.
I think being around, it seems like being around property, being brought up, it was 5 to 13 to 19, in and around practical situations. Coupling that together with the need, desire, want to make some profit, make some money, it kind of sort of starts to build a story, doesn't it? About I can kind of see how you've got to that point, because it sort of works together, doesn't it? Okay, so that's you got property early on, the principles of it, and working hard and making these things happen. And talk to me about your kind of next stages. So you've started well, on the property journey, but you're still young.
Yeah. So my property journey has been very long, admittedly, and most of it's been quite slow burn. After that, once I got that deposit and I was able to buy somewhere in London, I bought a place that was a bit run down. I refurbished it. I lived there for a few years, and I had to move on. So I happened to get made redundant, My wife got made redundant about 6 days later.
Right.
And so our companies that gave us a small amount of money, and they've said, go away, don't come back to work. And so we said, what are we going to do? And we twiddled our thumbs for about a week. And then we got a phone call from somebody, a friend of ours, who happened to live in Melbourne at the time. And she phoned up, she spoke to my wife, and she said, the job that we do, fashion buyers in London, we are miles ahead of the industry in Australia. They are crying out for people like us. Would you like to Melbourne? That's quite a big question.
Big ask.
My wife put her hand over the phone. This was before mobiles. So she put her hand over the phone and she said to me, do you want to move to Melbourne? And I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll come over. So 3 weeks later, we were living in Melbourne.
How old were you at that point?
Late 20s, probably, yeah.
Wow, okay. What an opportunity.
So then the property I bought in London was amazing. It was the best place to live ever. It was a loft apartment in Islington in a Grade 2 listed building with a gym, sauna, steam room, communal gardens, and a 24-hour concierge. That is like my perfect rental.
Yeah.
So we rented it out, moved to Melbourne. We lived there for about a year and a half. And then we came back. We said, well, actually, do we want to move back to that flat? It's all rented out. It's a perfect flat. And this is before I really knew any property investment strategies. My strategy at that time was to have very, very expensive flats in central London, where you needed two people who were a couple working in good professional jobs, so they could afford the rents.